first things first, the most important question of all, Frankie, how are you?
I'm feeling good, George. I'm feeling good. I stayed up until 2 in the morning to watch that. Had work
Yeah.
at 7:30, so
You
I was a
knocking back
bit.
the monsters?
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
energy drinks are
What's,
available, of
what's
course.
that? What was that? That Prime, is that the one KSI and
Prime,
all the
yeah.
kids are drinking these days? Like driving them all into like a sugary rush of madness.
That's it.
Terrified of kids that they're just all on a massive sugar rush from Prime and watching too much
Isn't
Logan
it?
Paul.
Isn't it? That's weird, though, isn't it? I mean, just to move away from football entirely, when I was growing up, it was all pogs and go-go's, and now it's, prime energy drink is what the kids want. Incredible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So George, we should get on it. With
Down with
a
the
with
kids.
oh, should go down the Logan Paul route. Me and you just appearing on WWE wrestling, just
Yeah.
doing really terrible, controversial
I'm the
stuff
I'm
all
the
the time.
KSI to your Logan Paul. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, boxing match between the two of us that nobody watches.
Yeah. Just
Uh,
stream it from the Orville and Filler account.
Eddie Hearn like desperate to promote it. But yeah, I think no, I'm doing all good. Yeah, stayed up, and so I went to bed feeling a bit like well. I went to the Villa game feeling a bit like Barbie, looking all chirpy and positive with the world. And I woke up this morning going to work looking a bit like Oppenheimer when he realizes what he's
you are
just
the
done.
you are the destroyer of worlds,
The
Frankie.
destroyer of worlds. I felt like
you
my
have
world had been destroyed by the lack of sleep.
you have become death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so no, it was all good. And yeah, good game, wasn't it, George? What did you see?
Very entertaining. Yeah, I did actually. Well, I watched the first half, and then sleep took me.
Mm.
But I mean, very entertaining half, and obviously Villa stormed into a 2-0 lead very early on, and I thought, my God, look at us,
Look at that.
look at us.
Premier League trophy. We've been joking about it for years. It's our WhatsApp name, isn't it? We change it every year. We're like League Champions 2022. All right, now it's 23. Now it's
Yeah,
24.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
I was starting to believe after 10 minutes of a preseason game.
So was I. Exactly. Get the claret and blue ribbons on it now, for goodness'
Mm.
sake. Save yourself the time. But yeah, no, it was a really entertaining game. I saw some of the extra sort of highlights afterwards in the second half when there were kind of a few more issues, I suppose. I think the ones that sort of flag that come to my mind are, the high line. Actually, we were talking about at the end of last season, long balls over the top, through balls, kind of through the middle, kind of catching us out a little bit. But I think that's something for us, obviously, to work on over the course of preseason. That is what preseason is for. That was kind of perhaps on the negative side of things, but positively, there were some great performances, I think, from some of the players. Most notably, Emi Buendia, of course, with a brace, should have scored a hat trick, but he was just electric, and he was playing in a position which is slightly different to what I've seen him play in before, where he's sort of coming in off the left, the position actually which he did really well playing at Norwich, really kind of on that left flank, cutting inside and being really effective and scoring those two really good goals inside the kind of the first few minutes. Watkins scored the first goal, obviously, but then Buendia scored a brace later on. He had a fantastic game, and on the other side, Jaden Philogene had another really good game in pre-season, which was really exciting to see. And there's been a lot of talk post that game about whether we could save a few bob and perhaps keep Philogene in the squad over the course of the season and just see how he gets on, because he does look like a player that can cause some damage. I know it's pre-season, it's obviously very difficult to judge, but that loan spell at Cardiff seems to really have done the business for him. I think he has come back a more improved player, a much more confident player, and he's got something that we lack. And I know we've obviously now added a Diaby. What a player he is, by the way! What a signing
Exciting.
going to be. I mean, I think he really is, of the three signings we've made. Obviously, Pau Torres as well is another big name, but Diaby coming in is someone I'm really excited about, and it sends a message, I think, to kind of the teams around us that we're not messing around here. And we've been talking about the top four for such a long time. Now, I think legitimately we could be talking about a top six, maybe top seven clubs that are going to be vying for those top four positions. So it's really exciting. And as I say, definitely things to work on. I mean, Newcastle were a really good opposition. Can I also say as well, the summer series sounds like some sort of wrestling pay-per-view.
Oh, it does.
I half
Love
expected John McGinn to shove Matt Target in a casket or something.
it.
Tyrone Mings and
Yeah.
Esri Konsa winning the tag team titles at the Premier League Summer Series.
Yeah, I could see that. Tyrone Mings with a rock bottom to Joe Ellington or something.
Yeah, but yeah, performance wise on the pitch, it was brilliant, and it's great actually to see us playing the States. There's just a different atmosphere there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everything just seems kind of like it did feel like a
glamorous.
like a World Cup '94 match, really.
Yeah.
Kind of the pitches and the fans and the sun, Tyrone Mings giving his match side assessment with his sort of big headphones on. That was cool.
Yeah. Even like the cameras, like the way the camera looks is different. It's shot in a different like frame rate or whatever sometimes. But yeah, it's you're right. There's something, and just the energy of the crowd, like you can see, they're just really into it.
Yeah,
I guess a lot of the US supporters who, if you were there yesterday, get in touch with all Villa, because I know a lot of you listen to us out there.
Absolutely.
Amazing fan base, and I guess don't get to see Villa too often, so getting to see them in the US must be awesome feeling. But I agree with you, George. Emi Buendia, Lionel Messi's down there in Miami now. What he should have done is flown up to Philadelphia and taken notes, because Buendia, I mean, that meme when you look through your glasses and you sort of rub them and you think you're looking at Messi and it's actually Buendia. That's what it was. He was, I think we've been talking on this podcast for a long time that Buendia needs to find consistency.
Yeah.
The only way he's going to become a regular Argentina international is to become a more consistent player, because he's competing with the best attackers in the world to get into that squad. And the problem has been that he has games where he looks absolutely exceptional, but then he has games, 3 or 4 games where he's, one game where he's really poor, or it doesn't really impact it, or he perhaps would have just been suited better as an impact sub.
Even this pre-season, you could argue that's the case. Against Walsall, he was pretty non-existent, and then he turns up and scores a brace against Newcastle. So, absolutely, he needs to work on that for sure.
Yeah, so it's that consistency he needs, and I think that again, we've also said on here about, I think competition would be good for him.
Yeah,
I think he needs someone to sort of push him, and maybe DRB is that. If say Emery decides that he's going to stick DRB in the kind of off the striker, or stick him out left, or this is another attacking player who is effectively competing with Buendia for a position. So it may be a high quality attacking rival for Buendia. It might actually help him focus and find that consistency. And that's it's fantastic to see him perform like he did against Newcastle, where he was just really on fire, really looked physically strong. Every decision he made was a good one. Great passing, great range of passing, good movement coming out to in, disrupting Newcastle's whole sort of midfield.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant assist for Watkins' goal, where he sort of bodied Newcastle's new signing. I forget his name is Tonali, is it?
Tonali, yeah.
Tonali, yeah. Where used every inch of his 5'2" frame to get past him and then play the ball off to Ollie. But yeah, he was just everywhere, particularly in the first half.
So I mean, that's the thing. All he's got to do now is he's got to, the acid test is St James's Park in a few weeks. It's one thing to do it in pre-season in the summer series. There's been lots of players in the past who've looked good in pre-season. There's been lots of, Bailey looked really good last season in pre-season. Carried it, was inconsistent again in the Premier League. But Buendia now needs to take this to St James's Park. Needs to take this form into the big games, when it really counts. But then also Philogene, like you said, that year at Cardiff must have really helped him. Did you see John McGinn's interview after the game, George?
I did. Yeah.
Tell you what, I mean, he was like, he's come back from a year at Cardiff getting beaten up. He looks up for it now. And I think he's basically saying that, he looked like he had a lot of talent in training last season, but was lacking some things. And so it was, I think, having that year out to be, to Cardiff, to play against high quality opposition every single week in a tough, physical, high quality league. Then to come back to Villa, a bit stronger, a bit more experienced. And what he was saying is that the coaches have been speaking really well of him, which makes me wonder if maybe Philogene is going to stick around. I would not be against that. I'll be happy with it. But also another young player who impressed George, Amari Kellyman.
Yes, yeah. Well, he was very unlucky not to score, wasn't he? I mean, he it could have been a great goal for him. Obviously touched onto the post with Buendia to convert, but yeah, I mean, he looks a real prospect. Emery was speaking about him afterwards, and he said, he's only 17, so there's still work to be done on him. I think, especially physically, he is a very slight player. But yeah, I think that the talent is there for sure. And he was getting everywhere, and he's confident. He's attacking minded, isn't he? Like he wants to get forward. He wants to impact the play in front of goal. So yeah, someone definitely that I think has been put on the radar now for sure. I think Villa fans have certainly pricked their ears up to him. But yeah, I wouldn't expect to see him anywhere near kind of the first team for a while yet. But he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Oh,
he might get get him a loan spell maybe at a League Two, League One club maybe, and see how he gets on, or just see how he gets on with the under 21s. But yeah, I mean he looks a real talent, so I'm really excited to see how he gets on this season.
100%. Yeah, hopefully a loan in some of the Championship if he is to go on loan. So I think something else as well that was good to see was the goals came from quick passes from defence, midfield into attack. It was so rapid. The play, the Emery ball was just, there were times when it looked fantastic. It really did. And that first 15 minutes, particularly, where it was like, I think we're going to win the Premier League. So no, it was really, really lovely stuff to see. And also Douglas Luiz, I thought looked just, I've been going on about him recently quite a bit, just because I think that he's a player who could be a Brazil international regularly, maybe like one of the first names on the team sheet for them. And I feel like we're starting to see him get to become I think he's got to a point now where you're like, this guy every single week looks really good. But
I mean, when he joined us, he obviously was a rough diamond, and there were reports at the time, I remember, where Guardiola was unsure about whether to let him go or not, and there was a buyback clause obviously into his contract, and thankfully that passed without them putting another bid in for him. But now I think he's been with us for a couple of seasons now. He's a bit older, he's a bit wiser. He's so familiar now with the Premier League and how it works. He's now in a settled position where he can affect the game, and he's just turning into that player that we all hoped he would under the stewardship of one of the best managers in the game. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, to be honest, I'm slightly worried that if not this summer, then next summer there'll be a big club making a big move for him, because I do think he's getting to the stage where he could be considered one of the best midfielders in that sort of area of the table, in those sort of top 6, top 7 teams.
There's no way he's leaving the team that's winning the Premier League.
Well, why would he?
No, of course. Look, these Saudi Arabian teams are going to start bidding $50, $100 million, $1 trillion for players in the near future. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm currently in a spell as a Villa fan where I feel like more confident than I have in the past that we're not just going to lose players all the time. And if we do sell players, it will be for really big money, and then we'll smartly be able to replace them, I think, is the way I think of Villa at the moment. Just because I think we've kind of hopefully protected ourselves behind the scenes with, Monchi, Vidagani, is it? I forget his name. And Emery himself, of course. So I'm sort of hoping we've future-proofed ourselves a bit there. If we do, start finding big bids coming in for our players. But also, a couple of other things. That high line, I love the high line. It's been working really well. Villa did really well with it. Struggled against Liverpool at home on Boxing Day last season. And that was one of the early showings of the high line where it looked like we were getting used to it. And I wonder slightly if we looked a little bit rusty using it yesterday. I think there were 1 or 2 occasions where Newcastle were offside, and with VAR probably would have been caught out. But we just sort of played on. And but what it clearly was showing was that Newcastle did hit the ball from deep a few times and get in behind us. And at St. James's Park, I just can't help but think that that's how they're going to approach it. And I can't help but think that that's what a lot of teams are going to try and do to Villa this season, timing those runs from deep from midfield, which is how Newcastle's first goal came about. Second goal, robbing the ball off Kamara. Again, you just put that down to rustiness, hopefully. And then, and hopefully by the time we're playing Lazio and Valencia, that's out the system. And then the third goal, just an ordinary ball over the top. Again, highlight. It's just the sort of thing, hopefully we're going to get this out the system before the season kicks off. Second half as well, Pau Torres and Yuri Tielemans, George.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great to see them obviously make their debuts. Pau Torres glistening in the Philadelphia sun.
Handsome man.
Very handsome man. And yeah, no, just great. I mean, they kind of usher in a new era, don't they? Those two signings, they really do. And it's very exciting just to see what they can do for the rest of pre-season and obviously into the new campaign. I mean, with the balls over the top, perhaps Pau Torres is quite pacey. Perhaps that's something that we could utilize. If we are caught out, perhaps he's the sort of player that can get back and rectify any of those sorts of problems. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, I mean, he is well known obviously as a ball playing defender. I'm sure Emery could play him as a ball playing midfielder if he wanted.
He looks like a midfielder.
He does look like a midfielder. Yeah.
I thought some of his passing yesterday was absolutely fantastic. It was almost Busquets-esque on one or two occasions. And obviously, that's what we know we're getting with Pau Torres is his ability on the ball, his possession base. There was some great stuff, and I think he could actually move up to CDM if he needed to.
I'm sure he could, but I think again it just highlights with both of those players, they and across the whole squad, we have such a depth in skill sets. So we have players who are physical in Mings and oh my God, what's our other defender called?
Ezri Konsa.
No, Diego Carlos. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We have physicality in Diego Carlos and Tyrone Mings. We have sort of a bit more technique, ball playing ability with Pau Torres. We have sort of graft in John McGinn, and we have pace now with Diaby. Across the board, we really have such a skill set with everybody, which kind of gives me the feeling that we can hurt anybody. I don't think we should really go into any game next season fearing them.
No, I don't. I don't think so either.
Even the top teams, Man City, Liverpool. I think even if we lose or draw or whatever, we'll give them a game. And I think we could say that over the course of the season. I don't think there'll be any games where I feel that we've been particularly outplayed, and if we have, there'll be reasons for it, injuries or suspensions or whatever. But player for player, we have a really formidable team now for the first time in a very, very long time. So yeah, I'm just really excited, and all these preseason games are just getting me more excited and they're helping me believe that we can do something special this season. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the squad depth is certainly there for sure. And, I like Tielemans coming on for Douglas Luiz. I thought Tielemans, again, was very impressive on the ball.
Yeah.
Very calm and collected. He put a few good balls over the top towards Archer and Philogene as well. I think it was Philogene. I think a couple of other weaknesses. I wasn't sure about the wing backs. Wasn't sure about Cash or Dean. I think we missed Moreno. And also that backup keeper, George.
Oh,
if there's ever an injury to Emi Martinez or an injury to Ollie Watkins, Villa are in trouble.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit surprised that there haven't been any sort of significant links to backup keepers, to be honest. I mean, we've let Sinisalo go out on loan already. Not to say that he was ever going to be a backup, but that's one less keeper we could possibly rely on. Marshall is with the squad again, a very young player, very unproven, very raw. And then Olsen, I think he kind of sends the fear of God into me, to be honest. And I think he sends the fear of God into our, all of our defenders. And that's definitely an area we need to address. I've got nothing against the guy. I'm sure he's a dedicated professional. I'm sure he works hard, but he just doesn't fit into this new Villa for me. Martinez has come such a long way under Emery's guidance. He's become a really good ball playing goalkeeper. There was a few moments against Newcastle where he was pushing up to kind of the edge of his box. He was using his feet a lot. We've become much more comfortable passing the ball around the back. I thought, because Newcastle were really pressing us. right from the off, but we managed to deal with that quite effectively. But with Olsen, no chance. It's just not working with him at all. So I would really, really hope to see another keeper come in. And I would be worried if the transfer window closed and we were stuck with Olsen as a backup, because heaven forbid if Martinez gets injured for any stretch of time, that is really going to impact our ability to do something this season. So I really hope it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Diego Carlos, I felt for him a bit. He looked a bit like he hadn't played football for a year. Struggled with his distribution and just looked a bit looked off the pace, which is totally understandable with a year out. So hopefully this preseason will be a big help for him to get fitter.
Yeah.
But also George. So it's only preseason. There are positives to take. You can't read too much into it, other than the fact we now know Villa are going to win the league. But no, obviously you can't read too much into it. But obviously it doesn't hurt to see your striker scoring goals and attacking players looking good and confident. So that's good. You don't want to be seeing them losing 5-0, do you?
No.
So, but on top of that, George, tonight it's been reported Internazionale, as Darren Fletcher kept bloody calling them in the Champions League final. So just Inter have bid 12 million euros for Emiliano Martinez. That is a report going around online. I don't know the veracity of it, but it's
sure. I mean, that's just not true, is it? I mean, like,
there's low balling, and then there's
I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Really, it's so ludicrous. I mean, also they've just received a ton of money for Onana, so why?
Yeah.
Don't. I can't even dignify that with any sort of like decent response.
Have they just sort of looked at it and thought, oh, it's only Ickle Villa? We were just in the Champions League final. Where'd Villa been for this amount of time? And we can bid this. And I don't know.
That can't be. Who's saying this?
I know. Well, it's just a report going around at the moment. Surely, 12 million.
I don't believe it. No
George,
way.
12 million can't be right.
Which sock?
George,
sock do they want to buy for that?
I saw you play five-a-side football in goal at Cardiff 10 years ago, and the way football transfer fees are now, I genuinely would have bid 12 million for you. So if you're worth 12 million,
with inflation and the rest of it, yeah, definitely.
If you're worth 12 million, what the hell's Martinez worth?
13 million, 12 and a half.
Yeah,
maybe. But yeah,
bit late in the day, I think, for Inter. If they're looking at Martinez, look, I could imagine there's movement in the backgrounds where they sort of approached him maybe and said, would you like to come and live in Milan? And to be honest, who the hell wouldn't want to live in some beautiful part of the world of northern Italy? But I think I don't know. I don't think I could see it happening personally. Hopefully I'm not speaking ahead of what might be a pretty miserable few weeks.
I mean, what I would say to this is, it's inevitable that there are going to be rumours of Martinez leaving, because he's won the World Cup with Argentina and he's one of the best keepers in the world, and by rights should be playing for a club in the Champions League or whatever. I just can't see it happening. The other day at a press conference, Martinez was asked about his future at Villa, and he said something like, my ambition was to qualify for Europe with Villa. I've done that. My ambition now is to win the competition in Europe with Villa. I just think, like, particularly now, looking at the signings we're making, the investment that's in the club, the manager who's at the club, the podcasts, incredible podcasts around the club. Like, we are very much a club on the up. I just don't know. I'm not saying that Inter Milan by any stretch are a club on the slide. Obviously they reached the Champions League final last year. They're a very, very good side in Italy. Historical club, all the rest of it.
Great club. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, incredible club. But to be part of something where you can really achieve something special, which Villa can do. I'm not saying we could win the. We won the league this season. I was going to say that's stupid, but we can achieve something that we haven't done for a very, very, very long time. Like, why wouldn't you want to be invested in that project, particularly as we're the club that's we're the ones that really showed faith in him. Arsenal were prepared to let him go. We were the ones that were prepared to give him a chance. And it was at Villa where he won the World Cup. It was at Villa where he won the Copa America. It's at Villa where we've qualified for Europe for the first time in 15 years. You know, we are achieving things, and he's achieving personal things whilst at Aston Villa. So I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what did happen. Moussa Diaby.
Yeah, well, as I said, yeah, very exciting. As I said earlier, he is the marquee signing of the three that we've made so far, in my opinion. He's the one where other people are standing up and taking notice of us as a club that could do something special. It's always quite nice, really, to kind of fly under the radar, which we have done for a while now. Even with Emery performing as he did last season, getting us up from the doldrums up into Europe. But the signings that we have made, and Diaby especially, I've noticed a lot of football journalists are saying Villa could have a really good season. Villa are doing something special. So it's interesting. I mean, I hope there's the players in the squad are relishing that pressure, perhaps, and they're not sort of cowering beneath it. I hope they rise to the challenge, and I'm sure they will. But I just look at the squad and I just think, with Diaby's arrival, and you've got the personnel there, like, even the old stalwarts, call them old now, but, Mings and McGinn are just playing at just a really top level under Emery. And then we've supplemented that with some quality players, and Diaby is sort of the crown jewel in all of it. Obviously, we're not done yet. I'm sure there'll be a few more outgoings and incomings. So I think Morgan Sanson, has been very, very strongly linked with Nice. Which is quite surprising, the way he flew out to the States, to be honest. He looked, in that picture that they took of the group when they landed in America, he looked like some sort of ghost just in the background.
Little kids, yeah. Guard stare.
It was like he knew he wasn't going to be there for long. He was probably thinking, when can I book the first flight back to Europe? But yeah, he'll be off, and a few others no doubt will go. So we're still tweaking the squad. Emery said so in the press conference yesterday that it's an ongoing process, and they're still looking and all the rest of it. So who knows what squad we'll have when the transfer window shuts, but it'll be a damn sight better than the one that shut at the end of last season. That's for sure.
I might give George's wedding a miss next week if things go pear-shaped in the spicy question. And today, George, I am asking you, is Villa's transfer business finished?
You should have just slipped that into the final comments I made at the end of the last part of the show. No, I don't think so, Frankie. I mean, as I said, there definitely will be some more tweaking. I don't think it will be, there might be some Villa fans who want 8-9 signings or whatever. I don't think it'll be that. I think if we are going to make signings, it might be 2-3 max. I think, I said in last week's show, I think the areas we need to improve on. I mean, obviously we've strengthened now on the wing with Diaby. We probably need another striker. We probably need another fullback. And I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we brought in another midfielder in some capacity, or some sort of utility player that can perhaps play in a variety of positions. That would probably be enough. No, sorry, backup keeper. Definitely a backup keeper. Yeah. But I wouldn't expect to bring in, too many more. I think it's really important that we brought in the 3 players we have, just as pre-season's kind of getting under the way. As I said, Diaby's already in the States. So I would expect him. I hope he will play against Fulham in our next pre-season game. Obviously, Pau Torres made his debut against Newcastle. I'm sure he'll get more minutes against Fulham and the rest of pre-season, and Tielemans as well. So, you want to get your business done early. That's always really key and useful. So I don't know if we want to wait too much later in the window, but obviously things do change as we get to kind of towards that stage of the season where clubs are still worried about making their tweaks, and then all of a sudden players are moving, and then everything becomes unsettled again, and then you are scrabbling a little bit. I hope we don't reach that stage. I hope, I don't really want us to be doing too much business on the final day of the transfer window, but I would expect that we do make more signings, and that we just kind of clean up the edges a little bit. So some of the the players on the fringes will move on in some capacity, either on loan or permanent transfers away. Strong rumours of Wesley, the forgotten Brazilian, going to Watford. Keenan Davis perhaps moving to another club. I've seen today.
It's up to Luton. £7 million.
Which I would absolutely take for sure, just to get anything for Keenan Davis.
Make it 8.
A nice round 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, Keenan Davis, and then Morgan Sanson, possibly on loan to Nice. So yeah, it's those sorts of players that probably do need to be moved on and to find other clubs, and then we can start tweaking. But it's all about just improving the overall level of quality in the squad. So players that perhaps were more first team regulars do become those maybe fringe players, but they are of a better quality. So if we do have injuries or suspensions, you're still thinking, well, we've got a good squad there to kind of rotate players around. So yeah, definitely there'll be some more movement, I'm sure of it. And if they're anything as exciting as the 3 we've already brought in, it's going to be a really, really good few weeks.
3 fantastic signings. I really think that they are high quality signings that absolutely improve the squad no end.
Massively, yeah.
The squad depth is just, you think last season if one player got injured, you'd be worried. At the moment in defence and midfield, Ramsey's out for a while, and I'm looking at it and thinking, it's a big loss, but at the same time, I'm like, I think we're okay, particularly if we end up signing Jeremy Doku as well, who again has always reminded me of. I've always really liked Doku. Every time I've ever watched him, I've always thought he's just one of the. He reminds me a bit of Eberechi Eze at Palace.
Yeah,
kind of like a really skillful player. Can play wide or centrally. So I'd be really pleased to see him turn up at Villa if that were to happen.
He's definitely one of those players that for me will improve under Emery. I think the problem with Doku, I think is we were talking about sort of inconsistency in players. I think Doku, he's really exciting. I remember when I was watching Belgium and he came on as a sub, and I was like, "Who is this?" I had never seen him play before, and I remember thinking, "Who is this guy? Like he's got pace, he's aggressive, like he's skillful, he goes at people, he causes havoc." But then clearly the reason why he's a sub is because perhaps he can't be relied upon to put in a performance for 90 minutes. But I think under Emery, given how he's improved so many of our players already, he's exactly the sort of project that Emery could work with and improve, and he could become a massive threat for us if he wants to join.
And he's very young as well. And I think, if you thought about it, then, Villa haven't currently, I would say, got loads of pace and skill going forward.
No.
And I think that Moussa Diaby's really added that. I think Philogene coming back could add that if he sticks around.
Yeah.
And if Doku came in as well, suddenly that's 3 skillful, fast options, and that gives you.
And if I know there's been rumours of Bailey moving away to Al Nassr, but if he sticks around again, he's another player that you'd like to see him be more consistent. But if he gets on his game, he is a tricky player.
And gives you options for a style of play you want as well going forward. If you want to be a bit more, slower, maybe with Buendia, a bit more progressive, wait for that pass. But if you want to hit someone on the counter, rapid, quick, fast, those, Doku, Diaby, Philogene together as well. It's just, it's crazy to be thinking of Villa like this. It really is, like, considering where we've been for the last 15 years. It's like the sleeper giant literally woke up somehow. But yeah, I think the backup goalkeeper thing, I think watching Olsen's distribution last night, I thought it's one of them moments sometimes where you just get a clarity of like, this has to be sorted. Like it just does. It reminds me of Nyland at Villa when he was there.
Yeah.
I remember when we played Wolves during the lot, we lost 1-0, then Donker scored for them at Villa Park. And I remember Olsen went to throw it and it was like, Nyland went to throw it. And I
remember
he somehow, I've never seen anyone do this even in like amateur football. Just like accidentally let go of it. So like threw his arm out, but the ball just like landed next to him.
Yeah.
And somehow Jota missed, but it was like,
yes, I remember. Yeah.
Jesus. And that was the moment where it was like, no, he's done. He's done. You just can't rely on him. So it's one of them again where you just like, sometimes there's a moment where you're like, it's just got to be fixed. And then I think Coutinho is an interesting one, George.
Yeah.
I personally am of the opinion he should go.
I just don't think I don't think he's an Emery player, and he's on massive wages. Obviously, I mean that is the problem. Is who will come in for him? I'm praying. I'm not praying because I do want to see him be successful. When he came to Villa, obviously the first few weeks he was just brilliant, and we were all just losing our minds the fact that we managed to attract a player of his sort of past quality, and he has shown in glimpses, that he's still a very talented player. I just don't know. He's clearly quite, he's getting to the point where he's quite injury prone. He's been injured with this injury for a long time.
Yeah.
You can't. He's a good player, and he's a fantastic name to have in the squad and all the rest of it. However, you can't justify the wages he's obviously going to be on for a squad player. You just can't. You've got to free up that money and bring in someone that's that can affect a game more regularly, is more consistent in terms of kind of their injury record, basically. I don't want him to be holding back a player like Aaron Ramsey, for example, or a Rogbinham. Not they play the same positions, but it's a central midfield spot that could go to a up and coming player. That's my view. And fundamentally, he was very much a Steven Gerrard signing. There's no way he would have signed for us if Steven Gerrard wasn't there. Steven Gerrard's now gone. So you're thinking, well, where does what's the connection now with the club? So yeah, a part of me, obviously, we all would love him to be a success and to find that form again of the early stages of his Villa career, but I just don't see it happening. And I think they probably are working behind the scenes to see if there's perhaps some interest to move him on. And I can totally see him going to Saudi. I really can. I think he's got that kind of aura about him where he could move over there and
still be a big name.
He'd still be a big name. He was linked with El Asifak, Gerrard's new club, obviously, inevitably, but those rumours have kind of cooled a little bit, I think. But who knows?
I think, to be honest, if you want a spicy tweet, just tweet something about Coutinho and you'll see the Villa fan base divide. There are many who I see saying that they want to keep him and they think there's something there. And to be fair, he did play well against Arsenal.
Yeah, great goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think I want to be proven wrong. I really want him to be massively successful at Villa. And I want him to show the form he had when he was 24, 23. But he's not that age anymore. And he is older. And I don't think in the entire spell he's had at Villa, he's really looked quite consistent enough or at it. And I think, yes, he may be impactful in Europe this season. Maybe he, under Emery, can find some fitness and find consistency and actually become a really crucial player for Villa and somebody that at the end of this season we're saying, what a fantastic turnaround. But it's a bit of a guess, isn't it? You don't know. And I if I had to bet, I'd say it's not there now, but I want to be proven wrong. That's what I'll say. I'll put my flag down, like on the moon. I'm Neil Armstrong on the moon, and say I think we should probably let him go. But I would be happy if I'm proven absolutely wrong on that.
Yeah. I think he doesn't help our. We were talking before about how pace was so important to us. I mean, I do think he's one of those players that slows us down. If we do want to break, if we do want to threaten in that way, which a player like Diaby would do, Philogene is doing in pre-season. Coutinho's and Bailey as well. Not Bailey, sorry. Buendia. Even though I wouldn't necessarily class him as the quickest, he's pretty explosive. I don't, Coutinho's not that. Coutinho is one of the players who, he'll pick up the ball, he'll do a nice trick and play the ball on. I just don't know where he fits into Emery's thinking as well. So
We'll see. I guess we'll see. I mean, he is going to play. I think in the summer series. I believe. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be available for the next game, is what I've read. And hopefully, he turns up and he looks fit and sharp, and it's all good. So, look, I'm not saying I want to get rid of him now, and he should. But if I was to, say whether I think he should stay or go, I think probably go. But like I say, I'll be happy if I'm proven wrong on that. And I know if I tweeted about this, I would get a whole lot of responses saying that, shut up, give him a chance, blah, blah, blah. But that's just the way I think about it at this moment in time.